we want to talk about some essences that we feel are really important in the early phases, well, honestly, in all the phases of flower essence therapy. And as you learn to start working with these essences, you'll start to be able to realize that how many possible aspects they have, how many potential uses they have. But we're going to talk about them from the angle of where we see a lot of times the beginning phases of when we start working with people or animals, the things that are really, really important to establish before you can ever go any deeper or work with any other issues. Sometimes this is all somebody really needs is they need a little help with their anxiety. They need to feel a little calmer, a little more grounded, and that's really the whole issue. And the beginning aspect is the nervous system and calming your nervous system, because I feel that if you don't have a calm nervous system and you can't be comfortable in your own skin, there really is no well-being. There's no way to establish well-being if you don't have that set up as the beginning. So let's talk about some essences that will help to ground, anchor, center your nervous system. Ro, you have some ideas on this too.
I do. And, really, we talk a lot about stress in our society, and we all sort of know what it is, but it's so pervasive that we don't really know what to do with it. And when you think about what stress actually is and how it's impacting the body, it's really the response of the body to any demand. That's what stress is. And so it's not all bad. The demand that you're getting can trigger a physical response or a psychological response, or both. And when you get that initial demand, like chemicals and adrenaline might release into your bloodstream, and the body might have an increased heart rate or blood pressure, and that gets you ready to mobilize to fight or fight, flight, or flee. Those are the ones that that's what that your body is getting ready to do, and this has kept us alive in certain situations throughout our evolution. So it's a really important response to have when warranted. The psychological piece of it is it activates your coping strategies, and if your coping strategies are successful, then that reaction, that fight flight reaction, is and possible anxiety subsides. So then you're done and it's okay and everything's okay, and we go through these little things all day long, every day. The thing that is a problem is if the coping strategies fail and the stress continues, and then a range of manifestations might occur. And so we're really focusing on creating a toolbox of things that can help us to deal with that, to help us to not fail in our ability physically and emotionally and psychologically to handle the stress that's coming our way. And so let's talk about some of the essences that can help us do that.
And this is such a good place to start with anybody you're working with, whether it's, for yourself or for anyone else, is some of these calming, centering essences, because it is, I feel like it's step one. If you can be relaxed and your nervous system be at ease, then all sorts of other areas can be accessed. But if not, the defenses are up and you can't release other issues unless the body is feels like it's safe and it's being protected in some way, like there's some level of safety, and then release can happen. So this is always a foundational piece. I feel like Star of Bethlehem is just such an important essence. This is one of the Bach remedies, and it has this character, it has this quality of just deeply calming and soothing and helping the individual come back to themselves. It it works so beautifully on trauma, whether it's a really recent or fresh shock or trauma, or whether it's something that's very old from the historical experience of the individual. So whether it was something that happened to you when you were an infant, or whether it's something that happened to you 5 minutes ago, the Star of Bethlehem essence can help. really soothe, ease, smooth out the nervous system and help you come back to a sense of self, rather than like you were talking about these nervous system states of fight, flight, freeze. That is like a shock to the nervous system and helping you come back into yourself where you can think and you can be present and you can breathe. This is very much the Star of Bethlehem characteristic.
I think of Star of Bethlehem as a guiding light that helps bring you back home. So that concept of when you have a shock and you sort of maybe even leave your body for a second, you're just like ejected because something startled you or um, really shook you. And that the energy of that essence, it is a light, it's a beacon, and it kind of calls you back into your body. I'd love to add lavender into this conversation because, well, for a variety of reasons. One thing is that everybody knows about lavender pretty much. I mean, even if you're not studying plant medicine at all, and most people have know a little bit about lavender. It's scented in so many things and soaps and body care products, and understand that smell is calming. Now, flower essences don't have a smell, obviously, but the energy of it is also in the essence. And as an herb, it's a nervine, and it does this, it does that. It has that relaxing energy for the nervous system. So what I love about lavender in explaining it to people is it really also highlights the difference between an herb, an essential oil, and a flower essence. And you can see all of the ways that that can manifest in these different plant medicines. And, the herb acts on that physical system, the scent acts in the olfactory system, and the essence acts on our energetic system. And so when you're feeling depleted, um, and you have the tension, especially in the mind, in the head, the lavender can come in and help to calm the mind, and the emotions, to restore peace and help us reconnect with our spiritual self. It it really The real indication is when you feel it, when you have like headaches, a lot, you feel the tension in your face, in your jaw, in your neck. Um, you feel that constricted feeling that stress brings. And so that to me is the indication for lavender, any kind of high um, nervous energy, high wire, overstimulation state. And lavender is a beautiful flower essence to bring in. It really is so helpful for so many challenges.
What you're describing from a Chinese medicine perspective, the lavender working on liver qi. And when the liver qi gets stagnant, when it's not able to flow, when your life force and direction and what you're trying to do in the world are thwarted, or for a variety of other issues, the qi gets stagnant, and so you tend to get the neck pain, you get the high shoulders, you tend to sort of be tense and tight and clenched. That's that's where lavender comes in, is it helps to smooth out that chi and helps to ease that process of helping you release the tension, release the clenching, release that inability to sleep, because insomnia is part of that pattern as well. So you can see it coming from a number of different perspectives. We're all talking about the same thing, and lavender is a great ally. It's also just really gentle. It's just really a sweet essence, and most people really enjoy having that energy in their formulas, to help smooth out everything, smooth out the nerves, smooth out, calm down the emotions as well. An essence that's also equally gentle and calming is chamomile. And one more that we often use as an herb, as the tea. And chamomile is such a beautiful, sweet flower essence that helps with a very similar, I think, state to what the herb works with, where, it's the emotional, digestive upset, sort of overwrougtness, that chamomile can help calm and soothe. The essence also works in a very similar way where it helps to ease that aggravation, the inability to digest circumstances. Now we're not talking about physical digestion, but about digesting experiences and digesting what's happened, and to be able to find a place to put it and figure out how to process that and move that through. And chamomile helps to restore that cheerfulness, that where we can feel really overwhelmed or depressed by things. The chamomile helps to smooth and cool and calm and help you digest life experiences. Is that how you use it as well?
Yeah, I feel like a really good indication for chamomile is irritability and the tension in the stomach. So we talked about lavender with the tension in the head and chamomile being that tension in the stomach. And that's a good like indicator to say that chamomile might be the flower essence for this kind of stress. And that irritability, like a short temper, um, being easily worked up and reactive, and then having difficulty calming down again. And chamomile comes in and it just and again, this is another really widely used herb that most people are familiar with in drinking chamomile tea. It is so good for that. I mean, I love my nightly chamomile tea, and it also has a scent and works with the olfactory system as well. So the herbalist Matthew Wood likes to call it the remedy for babies of all ages. And I always think about that and remember that, we don't have to be 2 years old to have a temper tantrum. We all go through times where we just are really upset that things aren't going our way. And to counter that and soften that, um strong mood swing or extreme emotional reaction, you know, there's a sweetness to this plant that just lets you kind of let it go. And so, yeah.
Such a good one. I feel like vervain can come in at this point. Vervain is one that I don't usually think of as like a primary stress essence. It's more, to my mind, a constitutional type of essence. So when I encounter somebody who has a type A sort of personality where they are very focused and very driven, I think of these people as being, the border collies of the human world, where they're just trying to make sure that everything's, and you just get really intense and really focused and really um, frustrated when thwarted. And Vervain helps to calm that down, helps you to be able to take a wider view. Because when you're in the Vervain mode, your focus narrows down to what's exactly in front of you, and it needs to be going the way that you want it to go. And that is a nervous system state that is not coherent with relaxation. So vervain, I find, helps to calm down that cycle of it needs to be exactly this way. Helps you step back, take a little breath, and to look a little wider and go, yeah, it's not exactly the way I want it, but it's okay. We're going in the right direction. It's okay to take a beat, take a breath, and to let this unfold in the time that it needs to unfold. Vervain is such a good essence for, it's kind of a 21st century kind of a vibe. Like all of us are expected to be type A type personalities. We're all supposed to be like on point and crushing our goals and doing all the things all the time. It's not really a good way to live. And Vervain can help us to counter that dynamic of the culture telling us what we should be doing.
Yeah, I agree, especially with that last part because I don't really think of Vervain as for just type A's. I think of it as we've all in our culture has kind of turned us all into that. And in one way or in maybe not in all scenarios, maybe not in all subjects, but if you think about just the internet, right? And having arguments online, that happen so easily in groups. Um, and it sort of devolves quickly into trying to um, make somebody else see your point. And that is a Vervain challenge. So the constitutional Vervain person might do that with everything all the time, but I think we all can get sucked into that energy because that energy is so pervasive. And then also with marketing and selling and sales, and of course, we're all faced with it coming in at us. But what I see is we're all turning into those salespeople. Um, our young, our younger, generations, or those that have, the influencer scenario where people are creating content, but quickly are are wanting to monetize and quickly basically becoming salespeople for products, like really quickly and really young. And so it's I'm seeing it happen younger and younger and younger. And it's an interesting societal thing that is happening when you think about, a 12-year-old creating a reel in order to sell a product. This is not something that the younger age groups used to think about or have to deal with. And how is that going to affect us and our integrity as we get older and grow into life? And it all boils down to trying to convince somebody else of your opinion, or to do something, or to buy something, or whatever it is. And it seems to be getting more and more intense. So I feel like Vervain really has a place for a really broader use than maybe Dr. Bach envisioned it to be used for. And yeah, I feel like it could be an up and coming one that might be used more and more for this.
It's a great perspective. I really appreciate that you're bringing that through because I think you're really right that it is way more than an individual personality. It has become a cultural aspect. Another essence that we can talk about that addresses the modern era, not that many people get to live on a farm and be out in nature all the time. Corn is such a valuable and important essence for all of us. I use this all the time. I certainly use it all the time when I'm working with animals who live in a city environment because they really need the help as much as anyone. But corn gives us this ability to ground down in, to feel like we belong, and to feel like a sense of self that we carry along with us, no matter how urbanized and noisy and chaotic the environment might be that we live in, work in, walk around in. It helps us connect to our sense of verticality. Like the corn plant has these strong roots that allow it to grow up straight and tall, but it also interconnects with its culture and its community. So it gives us this touchstone of being able to connect in with those around us in a really authentic way so that we feel surrounded by community, and we also feel surrounded by the nature that truly is there beyond all the concrete and all the noise and the cars and everything else. Nature is always there. It's a factor of being able to connect in with it.
I do have this background of growing corn as a child, and so it was a fun thing to have a garden, to grow up in a place with a garden as a child. And the energy of that corn, there is something really, really different about that as a plant for a variety of reasons. But from an energetic perspective, it's very immersive. So you have a crop of corn that you could walk through. It's taller than you. It's very close together, and it kind of creates its own world that you're in. It immerses you in, and you, for that moment, you know that you are immersed in nature. I mean, you can't ignore it. You can't get around it. It is there to bring you in, to bring you back. So I can really see how it could be an essence used, especially for people who are living in cities and don't have that connection to nature, to bring us back in a way that we can't that we can't ignore, that is all around us and immersive.
Yeah, there's so much to say about corn. You could kind of go on and on and on, but I I want to make sure that we have I think we've given you enough information to start using that. And the essence that we want to finish this section on calming and centering and creating a sense of safety in the nervous system is yarrow. And there are a number of different yarrow essences that can be used. The white yarrow is usually the one they just call yarrow, and there are also pink yarrow, golden yarrow, and a few other types of yarrows that are available. So to start with, the yarrow, keeping in mind, for me, I always go back to the visual of the plant. Watching that flower, that umbrella shaped flower that creates this sense of, imagine yourself under this security of this little umbrella, this safe little umbrella. And for eons, since humans have been walking the earth, yarrow has been considered a protective type of an herb, and it has been integrated into all sorts of healing and in ceremonies. So always remembering that the yarrow is there to protect. The yarrow essence helps you strengthen your field. So I always have that little imagination of being the little elf with the yarrow umbrella that keeps my field safe and secure. It helps to rebuild your field when it has been disrupted, and a shock or a trauma or a terrifying event is an area where your etheric field can be ruptured, it can be broken just a little bit. Part of you tries to leave. Some part of your spirit tries to leave when there's been a shock. And the yarrow helps to weave this field back together. The Star of Bethlehem brings your spirit back into your body, and the yarrow will help weave the field back together from where it has been um, opened, ruptured, opened, whatever. So just the yarrow, all the yarrows that we use as flower essences all fall into that category. And then we have individual colors of the yarrows that will create a little more differentiation. But I'm guessing that you might have some pieces to add on yarrow.
It is my favorite and one of my most used flower essences, and it is especially helpful for those who are sensitive, highly sensitive, empathic, or have a tendency to take on the energy of others and may or may not be consciously aware of doing this. And so it helps to establish those boundaries, those emotional boundaries. And so Kathleen, as you were saying, I also imagine it as a little, umbrella shield, um, for my energy field, but it's also a filter. So it's not just like shielding everything. What is really great about yarrow, all the yarrows and pink yarrow as well, is um, it's filtering so that so that you can keep out what is not yours, what you don't need, and but yet you're not blocking the flow of energy. You're still getting the energy, the energy that's appropriate for you. So yeah, we I know we both love pink yarrow, and we could go on about that. That should help with knowing when to use it and what kinds of people to use it for. Um, that dysfunctional merging, uh, when you're in a caring profession or are a carer of uh, people, children, animals, that is another that's a scenario where you might consider pink yarrow because of absorbing the problems that you're working with. And so when you find yourself absorbing the energy of those who you're caring for, that pink yarrow can really help to filter it out so that it is more appropriate.
It's a vital essence for empaths, the pink yarrow, because it helps you, like you're saying, determine what is mine and what is not mine. And I know for me, the pink yarrow has been a really important part of my process of my healing journey because I took everything on. It was all mine. I experienced everything and I tried to manage everything. And eventually I realized, oh, that's not actually mine. I don't actually have to take that on. So the pink arrow helps you differentiate what is actually yours to work with and what is not. And you mentioned like working with animals. It's so important for animals to use pink arrow because they very regularly take on their people's stuff. So being able to help them clear that and not need to, harm their own health in order to try to help their person. So that's a really good use of Yarrow. But yeah, Yarrow and everything, honestly. It's kind of an all-purpose essence that we use a lot for pretty much everything. So that covers the primary starting place of working with flower essences, we feel is to help with that safety embodiment, helping the nervous system to calm and feel more safe.